In this tutorial in CyberLink PowerDirector, we'd like to show you some tips on color grading by using the HSL tool. That stands for three qualities about color, which is hue, saturation, and luminance. To do this, you don't need ColorDirector. You can do everything we're going to show you in PowerDirector. So we have three clips on timeline track number 1. And we're going to show you a little bit about how to change the tone and mood visually simply by doing some basic color grading with HSL. So I have the first clip. If we play it, you see that it's a clip of some wind turbines. We'll stop that. And let's color grade. I click on the clip. I click on the edit button above the timeline. And then I want to be in the video section in the upper left corner. And we're going to move to the color tab. We have all kinds of adjustments. This tutorial will focus on HSL. So I'm going to click on that. And when I do, I see that I have 8 different sliders and 3 different characteristics of color I can edit. Now the one that's blue is the one you're editing. So I can have hue, which is my H, saturation, my S, or L, which is my luminance, and they all work independent one from the other. The hue is the one that focuses on the shade or the purity of the color. One thing to keep in mind is that whenever you change any of these sliders, they impact the pixels that you're focused on, but also every other pixel in your video. So it goes from red all the way to magenta. I like to think of this as a continuous line that's broken into 8 segments. Because if you notice, the more I move this one from to the right, the more it moves into the orange range. We're just working at hue right now. So it moves it more to orange. The more I take, for example, the green one and move it to the right, it moves to aqua. If I move it to the left, it moves the green colors back to yellow. So these, in some ways, if you look at the color above and the color below, and you're doing the slider, it will show you one way in which you can define exactly what you're doing when you modify the color. Now, if you want to change any of these 3 universally, you click on the reset back here, and it will change all the hue, saturation, and luminance to normal. If you only want to reset the hue color, you use this reset button here, and it will make the hue default, but it will not change anything you've done on the saturation or luminance tabs. So let's look for a second at hue. Hue is probably one of the most dramatic changes. If I want to take my yellows and make them a little more intense, I'm going to go back toward the orange range, and I'll move to the left, and you see now the hills are very much more orange in tone than they were before, and so is anything else that had yellow to it. Let's look at the sky, for example. When the sky, if I want it to be blue, if I want it to be a lighter blue, I'm going to move to the left. It will be more of an aqua color, because that's the name above it. And to the right, it's more of a darker blue, moving into actually the purples. That's the hue. Let's look at saturation. I'm going to reset the hue back to normal here. Let's look at saturation. Saturation, again, is intensity. So if I want the blues to be more intense blue, I'll drag to the right, and you see that. It affects the blue in the sky and the blue in the mountains. If I want it to be less so, I can back out here, and it's a less distinct blue. The intensity has gone down. I'll reset that. Now, luminance basically controls how light or dark the colors are. If I want a darker blue, I go here. If I want a lighter blue, a washed out sky, I can go here. Usually we use these in combinations. Oftentimes you'll want to change one or more characteristics in, say, the yellow together and the orange together, or you might want to change the blue and the purple together, or likewise a yellow and a green, whatever you want to do. But you notice a difference in the look and feel of the mood in my video clip just by changing a few of these. I'm going to turn it off, and you'll see the difference between this is what we started with and this is what we have now. Significantly different. let me reset all of these, and I want to show you a tool that's available if you're a 365 subscriber. You now have a tool called Targeted Adjustment Tool. And when I click on it, I will get the blue outline around the tool, which means it's active. What I do is I move to the colors that I want to modify, and I hold down the left mouse button, and I can drag up or down. Watch what happens when I drag up on a blue. I drag up, and it moves my slider to the right. I drag down, and we're in luminance, which is the light or dark, and it moves it to the left. So I can modify it that way. Let's reset that. Let's take something more complicated here. Let's go to saturation and look at the hills, and I can take and I'll drag up. Again, it's moving my oranges to the right, a little more reddish in the orange, and I move it back and I've got more yellow. More who cares kind of a feel. And you can do this with anything. Let's take the grass here, and let's go with hue, and I'll drag it up. It becomes more brownish, more darkish. I move down, and it moves it more toward the red tones. Notice again, it starts to change more than one scale at a time. The other thing you can do is, if you find that it's adjusted it and you kind of like it but don't exactly, you can make your own modifications simply by moving the sliders anywhere you want independent of that. So if you do have 365, it might be good to start with the targeted adjustment tool and then make your own changes from there. So it might be suggestive. Let me show you a place where we often use HSL, and that's with people. I'm going to click here, and here we have a scene of a gal. She's obviously not happy. She's thinking about something, maybe disturbed, and we want to change the mood of this with color grading. How do we do that? Well, the easiest way is to say, okay, this area around her is bright. I want the area around her to be dim and dark, not this bright green color. So if I want to do that, I can turn on this tool or use the sliders. I'll take any of these greens here. Let's take the lighter ones, and I'll drag down. Okay. And so now we've decreased the saturation or intensity of our greens. Let's take the hue, and I'm going to drag that down too for the greens. And now they're turning to more of a brownish looking color. So it's kind of a darker atmosphere around it. The other thing I can do is I can take the saturation for her face and drag it down and make her more pale. Now, I've also changed some of the saturation here because, again, skin colors are often orange, yellow, and red. And if I want to change this one, I'm going to change her face as well. Watch, I'm going to change this. I'll drag it down. But now I've changed her face to almost colorless. I don't want to go that much. So again, you have to be aware when you have skin tones in a picture and want to change them, watch for the other things that might change as well. But this is a very different look than what we have here. A little more foreboding, a little more upsetting. You've changed the mood by changing the color. Let's look at another one. Here we have a guy who's playing tennis, and I think his skin tones are a little more red than what I want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the saturation value, and with my adjustment tool, I'll drag back down a little bit. Make him a little more pale. I'm going to take the luminance and also drag that one down. Let's see if I like this better. I think he looks a little healthier here. I don't have the red blotches so much on his face. Now, I have changed every other red pixel in the video, but it's just a slight way to do this. And my recommendation again is, if you're using these tools, use them sparsely. because the more dramatic you get, the more surrealistic your video will become. But you can make some minor adjustments in seconds that can change the mood or alter it in a significant way using the HSL Color Grading tool in PowerDirector.